with us today. So you are research engineer at University Centrale Nantes and soon to be project director at the Foundation Open Sea that was set up in March this year. How come this structure was created?
Well, thanks, Lisa, for the introduction. Hello, everyone, and thanks for those who stayed. The previous panel was quite big, so thank you for staying there. Indeed, the question is right. How come we did that? We often try to explain what we create when we create such a new infrastructure and forget to answer the why question, you know? And the why question is really important because this idea to group all the test sites together originated actually really early when we created test sites in France 15 years ago, in the sense that we always knew that together we could be stronger, but it was not possible in the time. And why was it not possible? Well, the entire sector was much different. First, I mean, it was not ready or mature, in a sense that 15 years ago you couldn't find more than perhaps 1 or 2 companies who could invest time and efforts to do those kind of testing. And secondly, finance, because again, 10, 15 years ago, no one would dare spending 50 million euros on developing a few sites in France, right? So no one would try to do that. And we picked up this idea again 2 to 3 years ago, and we found 2 important things. Support from the sector, because we have a good track record now from the sites. And so public and private entities supported us, regions, companies, research centers. They believed in our idea. And also we find the perfect legal framework. And this is very important. We find its solution of a foundation in order to unite sites that come from different places. And we are recognized as a research entity, or exactly a research infrastructure by Europe, meaning that we can be funded as a research center. And this is really important as well to gather the funding needed. So that's why in March we created OpenSea, la Fondation, OpenSea, and then in order to develop new sites or develop existing sites, coordinate the sites we have and manage the assets.
So we're talking about test sites and research centers, right, that are working together. Why is it important to bring everybody around the table? We had to bring those sites together indeed for a few reasons, but you know, what's a test site as well? Why a test site? Some people might not be aware of that, but a test site is an area. So we'll see a few there on the screen. Is a restricted area with permits where we can test technologies, and technologies is everything: a floating wind turbine, a sensor, an ROV, and many people in this room have thought or have tested those technologies at a site. And we also do we also try to reduce costs and risks. And technology developers need us to do this, right, in a safe, secured, and monitored environment. And it's quite important for me to show you what we group together. We group together 5 sites. So Mistral is one in the Mediterranean. You'll see the map as well. So if we go from Mediterranean to the north, there's Mistral to do wind testing. There is Seneo to do tidal testing. There is Semrev to do wave, wind, or offshore or solar testing, for instance. Sainte-Anne-du-Portzic in Brittany, a smaller sheltered site to do smaller scale tests, and Paimpol-Bréhat to do tidal testing as well. So with that together, we created the biggest European test sites. In terms of capacity, for instance, we can host up to 35 megawatts of testing. But we want to stay ahead of the game because we need more power, so we will develop new sites, higher power test sites to test 15 to 20 megawatt turbines. We don't know yet where it's going to be, but it's going to exist to reach 95 megawatt perhaps and be able to host the technologies of tomorrow. And really what we gained is visibility, it's quite obvious, but also to clarify the roles that we have. You know, in France and in Europe, you have many different entities doing testing, research. We don't really know, the lines are blurred, but starting from now, they're going to be very clear. What we do is sea testing. We test prototypes, and we make sure that research is actually possible on those prototypes. It's not that straightforward to be able to do some research on a pre-commercial project. So the visibility is very important. And then, I guess, what's really important as well, we will gain in efficiency. Efficiency, why? Well, basically, if we take a simple example, Semrev, the site I originate from, can be run with 15 people, minimum. My colleagues would say it's not enough. 15 people is the minimum. If you apply that to 5 test sites, it's 75 people. But it's way too much, so to reduce those costs, we definitely think we can do it with 40, 45, be more efficient. So each site, like Paul Brea, will have its own local operational team, and the rest will be transverse expertise. And this allows to reduce cost, and therefore cost of testing, because it's always going to be too expensive to test for a company which is already struggling in the development. So that's really why we do it. And I think in the first few years, we understand that together we go alone we go faster. Definitely, we manage to get funding. We can go a bit faster. But now we want to reach another stage. We want to go further, and further can only be together, I guess.
Further in France, but also abroad, right? In other countries?
Yes, I mean, each site had a lot of collaboration with other sites, with the other countries, in Netherlands, Spain, UK, obviously, Ireland. And we have different kinds of collaboration as well, right? And we've always been at this crossroads between research, between innovation, industry, and even the legal representative, the decision makers in the countries. And therefore, we need to foster those collaborations to keep them going and even increase the number and depth of those collaborations. So research, for instance, we work with many different entities on environmental monitoring. It's very important. Everyone talks about it, but we actually manage to collaborate and publish the results that we have. So this is very important, that the results we have are disseminated to every type of communities, scientific community, industrial community, or the general public as well. So that's research collaboration. We do research on material as well, on moorings, on cables, on fatigue, on testing. There's a lot to learn, and we recently got involved into recyclability topics. No one yet talks about it really, but we as a research infrastructure need to focus on that as early as possible. Those are research collaboration. And we also have innovation, I'd say, or industrial collaboration. We collaborated with the European test sites. I see a few people in the room who've collaborated with us in the past for the last 8 years, I think. We even invented a new brand. The teamwork makes the dream work. We invented that, but it's in relation with the topic today. We gather to gather more attention, more funding, and direct it to the technologies that actually deserve it. So channeling the money through the test sites was quite important. But recently we also did I think one of the sites, 2 of the OpenSea sites were involved in the biggest tidal project in Europe called Tiger, and this is the biggest ever tidal project. And we hope that we can keep going on those kind of collaborations. So, I mean, to conclude, I think on that part of collaboration, for us, the fact that we have a clear role now of testing, making tests possible, making research on those tests possible, is much easier to collaborate abroad. There's only one gateway into France to do testing, and that's us now. And I think we did it at the right time to accelerate, because we won't reach those European targets we keep hearing about without more technology in the water.
Just as a last small question, I was just wondering, when you were talking about international cooperation, is it always an advantage when you have several sites and research centers across countries or in different countries that join forces in order to get international funding? Is that always a good thing, or can it also be a disadvantage?
I'm just looking in the room. I think it was definitely a good thing. I mean, if we did it for 8 years, and we are still doing it, and we've put a proposal recently to keep going. So it's a bit unfortunate that one of the test sites cannot be in those European projects anymore. We all know why, but then it brought a lot of attention, it brought a lot of recognition, and funding which was necessary in that time. And I'm speaking multi-energy, wave, tidal, wind, it beneficiates to all of those different energies. So I think it was beneficial, and so much that we decided to do it in France locally as well. So.
Okay,
I think
great.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Thomas Soulard.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Goodbye,
Thank
everyone.
You for listening.
Thanks.
you.